Jen grew up in a loving home, but her parents' beliefs couldn't have been more different. Her mother's faith was gentle and unwavering, a quiet trust in God's plan. Her father believed in hard work and self-reliance. "We make our own luck, Jen," he'd say. This difference created a quiet tension at home, like two songs playing at once. Jen loved both her parents and stood in the middle, longing for her mother's peace but admiring her father's strength. The question of who was really in control, God or herself, became a quiet hum in her mind, and Jen stood at the threshold wondering which way to go. Jen carried her parents' divide into adulthood. She married a kind man who, like her father, didn't share her mother's faith. She tried to build a secure life through hard work and careful planning. But cracks appeared. Her marriage grew strained, arguments echoed, and connection faded. The more she tried to fix things, the more they unraveled. At the same time, her father's strength crumbled under addiction and job loss. Jen watched her rock become adrift, her heart breaking. Both her marriage and her father seemed to collapse at once. Jen felt like she was drowning, the world spinning out of her grasp. Her mother's words about God's plan felt distant and unreal. Where was God now? All she saw was pain and chaos. At night, worries kept her awake. How could she fix her marriage, save her father? The weight was crushing, leaving her hopeless and alone. She had tried to carry the world, and now the world was breaking her. Jen was desperate for something, anything to change. During a difficult week, Jen called her father. He sounded defeated, admitting his strength wasn't enough. In that moment, the wall of pride between them began to crumble. Jen didn't have answers, just a memory of her mother's faith. On impulse, she asked, "Dad, what if we went to church this Sunday together?" Silence. Then, to her surprise, he said, "Okay." That single word was a surrender, a flicker of hope. This wasn't part of any plan, just a small, grace-filled step. That Sunday, Jen and her father walked into church, nervous but open. They didn't know what they'd find, but they showed up, empty-handed and humbled. They were two broken people taking a chance on something her mother had always believed in. Inside, they found a community, not answers. They were simply present, answering a quiet invitation, maybe from God himself. It was a step into the unknown, but they took it together. That morning marked a turning point neither could have predicted. Sometimes hope begins with just showing up. For Jen and her father, it was the first step toward healing, and it all started with a simple invitation. Sitting in church beside her father felt surreal for Jen. The music spoke of hope and a love that never fails. The pastor's message was simple. Grace meets us in our brokenness. You don't have to have it all together to come to God. Just come. Every word felt meant for them. Jen felt something inside her soften, a gentle permission to let go. Tears fell, not from despair but relief. She glanced at her father and saw a tear on his cheek. In that shared vulnerability, a new bond formed. That service didn't fix everything. Her marriage still struggled. Her father's addiction remained. But a seed of faith was planted. Jen began to pray simple, honest prayers. "God, I don't know what to do. Please show me the way." She shifted from control to trust, beginning a journey she no longer walked alone. Small acts of faith and kindness followed. Patience with her husband, empathy for his struggles. It was slow, but with each prayer a little more light seeped in. The cracks in her life were still there, but now light was shining through. Jen realized healing starts with surrender, not solutions. The journey was just beginning, but she finally had hope. Sometimes the first cracks of light are all you need to keep going. Jen soon saw God's timing through the kindness of others. Sarah from church welcomed Jen and her father, offering friendship without judgment. Over coffee, Jen opened up about her struggles. Sarah simply listened and shared her own. This friendship was a lifeline. Later, a church member offered Jen's father a job. No pity, just a chance. It restored his dignity and hope. Arriving at the perfect moment, Jen began to see these moments as more than coincidence. Divine appointments, an anonymous gift card in the mail with a note, "God sees you. You are loved." Jen wept, reminded that God knew her hidden needs. These experiences changed her perspective. God was weaving grace through ordinary people. Inspired, Jen looked for ways to help others. She offered a kind word to a struggling mom, recommended a friend for a job. She learned faith isn't just about receiving grace, but sharing it. Kindness became her new currency. each act perfectly timed. The more she gave, the more she saw God's hand at work. Jen realized that small acts of kindness can change lives. God's timing made every gesture meaningful. Through giving and receiving, Jen's faith deepened. She became a channel for grace, just as others had been for her. In every act of kindness, she saw God's perfect timing. As Jen's faith grew, it overflowed to others. She started a small group for women facing hard times, sharing stories, praying, studying the Bible. Jen was honest about her struggles, creating a safe space for vulnerability. Maria, a single mum, was inspired by Jen's story of letting go and trusting God. Maria began to pray, read the Bible, and found hope she never expected. Jen's generosity became practical. She started a blessing box at church, a pantry for anyone in need. The box was filled by those who once took from it, a cycle of grace. The most profound ripple was in Jen's family. Her father, supported by his job and church, committed to recovery. Jen and her mother walked with him, their faith now shared. Even Jen's husband noticed the change. Her patience and peace drew him in. He began asking questions and eventually agreed to attend church. The ripple of hope was reaching home. Jen saw that faith, when lived out, spreads far beyond ourselves. Small steps of trust can transform families and communities. The ripple of hope kept growing. Jen learned that trusting God's timing is active, not passive. She started each day with a simple prayer: God, this day is yours. Guide my steps. Surrendering her plans shifted her focus from problems to God's presence. Immersing herself in Scripture, she found stories of people who waited: Abraham, Joseph, David. These stories reminded her that waiting is part of faith. She clung to promises like Jeremiah 29:11, God's plans for hope and a future. Community became vital. Her small group and church family supported her when her faith wavered. They prayed for her, reminded her of progress, and shared the journey. Gratitude became her daily practice. She kept a journal listing 3 things she was thankful for each night. This discipline retrained her mind to see God's goodness, even in hard times. Jen learned that even in waiting, there is grace to be found. The process wasn't easy, but she was never alone. Trusting God's timing meant letting go of control one day at a time. Through prayer, Scripture, community, and gratitude, Jen found strength to wait. Waiting became a season of growth, not just endurance. Healing in Jen's family came slowly, like a sunrise. Her father's sobriety was built one day at a time, supported by faith and community. There were setbacks, but God always provided what was needed: a call, a word, a verse. Jen's marriage transformed gradually as her husband saw her new gentleness and forgiveness. One night he said, "I want what you have." It was the start of his own faith journey. The tension between Jen's parents faded. Now faith united the family. They prayed together, shared what they were learning, and found joy as a family. The divided house became a united home, built on trust in God. Jen's mother's prayers were answered in ways she never expected. Looking back, Jen saw God's hand in every struggle and every breakthrough. The pain and brokenness weren't wasted. God used them to bring surrender and unity. The healing was deeper and more beautiful than anything Jen could have planned. God's timing had been perfect all along. The family's story became a testament to grace and restoration. Jen learned that true healing is slow, but always worth the wait. God's plan was better than anything she could have imagined. Life will always bring challenges and seasons of waiting. In those moments, we must trust the weaver's hand. Jen's story reminds us that God is always at work, weaving beauty from our tangled threads. The dark threads of struggle are as important as the bright ones of joy. We may only see chaos, but God sees the finished tapestry. Our job isn't to understand the pattern, but to trust the one who weaves. Trusting his timing means believing he is good, even when life isn't. It's a daily choice, not a feeling. If you're waiting, remember, God sees you, knows your needs, and hasn't forgotten you. Take small steps of faith. Pray, read his word, find community, and practice gratitude. These anchors will hold you steady until the storm passes. God's delays are not denials. His timing is perfect. Like Jen, you can let go of control and trust the masterful weaver. He is creating something beautiful with your life. Wait for it. His plan is worth the wait, and his grace will carry you through.